Okay, testing, testing. I'm testing the sound. This is me testing my microphone for the sound. It's kind of sounds good, says Betsy. So I think we are okay. Are we good? Am I getting a thumbs up from everyone? I can stop talking microphone? Okay.
Yes, I started streaming.
Okay.
Name is Kate. I'm sorry. Good morning. I love enthusiasm. My name is Kay Brandt, and I use she, they pronouns. I have the honor of being your worship associate this morning. Please take a moment to put your mind, spirit, and cell phones in worship mode.
Living the example.
Sorry about that.
No, it's great.
Okay, back to work. Okay. We welcome everyone here and online to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke, with a special welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. We hope you stay after service for coffee in the fellowship hall. Let's take a second to stand up and connect with everyone watching at home. For those of you online who wish to share your joys and concerns during the Lifeline portion of the service, please put them in the chat in the next 15 minutes. And then there's our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that our church resides on the traditional lands of the Tutelo and Monacan nations and was later farmed and developed through slave labor. We recognize and respect the ongoing connection to this land by generations of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. May our gratitude and fellowship here echo and honor that rich history. And now we'll recite the welcoming words and covenant. Please join me in reciting them. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you express your identity, whatever your situation in life, whatever your experience of the holy, as you come seeking love, here is a gift. Whether you are filled with sadness or overflowing with joy, needing to be alone with yourself or eager to engage with others, all who welcome all are welcome here. And our covenant. We commit to supporting each other with respect and direct communication as we work in community to explore spiritual growth and to be a force for good in the world.
So you're going to sing a song with us. This is really what it is. And you'll have words in a minute. Now that I have the microphone, yes. Top of the desktop. Top of the desktop. Maybe the bottom of the desktop. One, we see that there's a wrong to be righted. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. 1, 2, 3. Back to the beginning. 1. Back to the beginning. That there's a wrong to be righted. 2. We know that we are stronger when united. 3. We exercise our right to assemble. 4. As when the mighty start to tremble. Just in case you're wondering. Just in case you're wondering. Just in case you're wondering. Hey, hey, look this way. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. It's hot. Now it's hot.
Heck yeah. Woo! I'm going to bring it right down. And this is what democracy looks like, because this is our lives in faith lived in action, everyone. Good morning. I am the Reverend Jen Raffensperger. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am honored to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke. And worship is a living thing. It is a creation we make in the moment together. So thank you, everyone that is a part of it. That's every single one of you here and at home. There's a lot of emotional shifts when we talk about democracy as a spiritual practice. So this morning, I'm going to invite you to hear our opening words. The last 2 stanzas from September 1st, 1939 by W.H. Auden. All I have is a voice to undo the folded lie, the romantic lie in the brain of the sensual man in the street, and the lie of authority whose buildings grope the sky. There is no such thing as the state, and no one exists alone. Hunger allows no choice to the citizen or the police. We must love one another or die. Defenseless under the night, our world in stupor lies, yet dotted everywhere, ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them of eros and of dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame. Speaking of affirming flames.
That was a hint.
No, that's not a hint. This is just me being clever. Okay, sorry. We are now the affirming flame of our faith. We are now lighting our chalice along with Unitarian Universalist churches. We should try these before it's all good. This is all good. Perfectly imperfect. There we are. Got it. Our affirming flame, along with Unitarian Universalist churches, congregations, fellowships, little groups of folks all across this nation and the world, light their chalices today in the spirit of our shared values, and we respond.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of light.
Hello, my name is Jessie McEwen. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at UUCR. And my privilege is to get to invite up those who are young at heart, who just want to get closer to what I have in my hands. Come on up. We've got plenty of room on the ground. We've got room in chairs. So come on over. First, before I tell you what I'm holding in my hands, which you can probably guess what it is, I have a question. If I say the word democracy, what does it make you think of? The president. What else? A car. What else? Do any of the big kids want to throw something in here? Feel free. Voting. So this is a car. What if I told you that this is a vehicle of democracy? You'd probably laugh at me if you are of a certain age because I made a pun, a ha-ha. This is, and we're going to actually go upstairs and practice this, but I didn't build this by myself. I had help from people who had a vote and a voice in building my little car. They told me where to put things on the car. They also told me that it would go on its own. Now, if I was to roll this car, do you think it would go on its own? Who wants to do it? Go for it. Take the whole aisle if you want to. Let's see if it'll go. Oh, my land, y'all. We had a major crash. It's okay. It happens. So what do we do if it crashes? Fix it. We fix it. Do you think we can rearrange this and make it go a little better? You want to give it a shot? No? You want to try? Go for it. You can put it back together. You can take it, or you can just roll it differently. You want to try rolling it differently? What you want to do? I know we're putting you on the spot right now. Ooh, that was nice and smooth. So you were a little gentle with it, right? Great job. Give me a high five.
When you're slow, it doesn't break.
When you're slow, it doesn't break. Oh my goodness. And that's the end of this message because I can't make it any better. Thank you so much. Will you carry that upstairs with us? Awesome. Thank you. We're going to head upstairs and practice democracy. Sound good? All right, let's do it.
Election Year by Richard Blanco. The last ghostly patch of snow slips away. With it, winter's peaceful abandon melts into a memory, and you remember the mire of muck just outside your kitchen window is the garden you struggled and promised to keep. Jeans dyed black by years of dirt, you step into the ache of your boots again, clear dead spoils, trowel the soil for new earth. The sun shifts on the horizon, lights up the dewed spider webs like chandeliers. Clouds begin sailing in, cargoed with rain loud enough to rouse the flowers into a race for color. The rouged tulips clash with the noble lilies, flaunting their petals at the brazen puffs of allium. The mauve tongues of the Irish gossip sweet nothings into the wind, trembling, frail petunias. Mornings over coffee, news of the world, you catch the magic act of hummingbirds appearing, disappearing, the eye tricked into seeing how the garden flowers thrive in shared soil, drink from the same rainfall, governed by one sun, yet grow divided in their beds where they've laid for years. In the ruts between bands of color, ragweed poke their dastard heads, dandelions cough their poisonous seeds, and thistles like daggers draw their spiny leaves and take hold. The garden loses ground and calls you to duty again. With worn gloves molded by the toll of your toil, and armed with shears you tear into the weeds, snip head-bowed blooms, prop their struggling stems. Butterfly wings wink at you, hinting it's all a ruse, as you rest on your deck, proud of your calloused palms and pained knees, trusting all you've done is true enough to keep the garden abloom. But overnight, a vine you've never battled creeps out of the dark furrows, scales the long necks of the sunflowers, chokes every black-eyed Susan, and coils around the peonies, beheading them all. You snap apart its greedy tendrils, cast your hands back into the dirt, pull at its ruthless roots. Still, it returns with equal fury and claim. The red poppies scream, the blue asters gasp for air, strangled in its vile clasp that lives by killing everything it touches. The sun's eye closes behind mountains, but you lose sleep tonight, uncertain if the garden is meant to inevitably survive or die, or if it matters, one way or the other, with or without you. Maybe it's not just the garden you worry about, but something we call hope pitted against despair, something we can only speak of by speaking to ourselves about flowers, weeds, and hummingbirds, spiders, vines, and a garden tended under a constitution of stars we must believe in, splayed across our sky.
Thank you, Kay. All I have is a voice to undo the folded lie, the romantic lie in the brain of the sensual man in the street, and the lie of authority whose buildings grope the sky. There is no such thing as the state, and no one exists alone. Hunger allows no choice to the citizen or the police. We must love one another or die. This summer, when I was preparing to move here to Roanoke from my last home in York, Pennsylvania, I drove down one Monday to sign my lease. I stayed overnight that night and drove home on Tuesday, which was 1 week to the day before the movers were set to arrive. So during the not quite 24 hours that I spent here then, I ran a whole lot of errands. I went around picking up little things for my apartment prior to my actual arrival. And so on Tuesday morning, I found myself at the Valley View Target, as one does, wheeling my purchases out to my car when suddenly I was stopped by a young woman and a man holding a television camera. Oh my goodness. They wanted me to be the man on the street. I'd never been the man on the street before. I explained that I wasn't even yet a resident of Roanoke, but the reporter explained that they were getting reactions to national news, not to local news. Specifically, they were out getting reactions to the previous night's news out of the Republican National Convention announcing the selection of the vice presidential candidate. I gave her my reactions right there in the parking lot. And sure enough, I wound up on the news that night, or at least approximately 10 seconds of me talking did. Perhaps you all know me well enough to know that I talked for a lot more than 10 seconds. Growing up as I did in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C., gave me a unique perspective on national politics. My father was a career civil servant in the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and later in the Department of Education once that original agency was split. National politics was, in a very real way, local news for me. Government shutdowns meant a furlough for my father, and later, keeping on the family tradition, for my brother, who only recently retired from a career with the United States Geological Survey. Because of these relationships and realities, I grew up loving our democracy. More than that, I specifically grew up loving our government. That was real good. Thanks, James. It was real good. I knew that my experience is not the same one that everyone had. As I grew older, I certainly found plenty to disagree with and grow angry about within our government and its institutions. As a child of the Cold War, I also grew up in fear of the military might of nuclear weapons, and I railed against the nonsensical nature of war, especially of any war that involved phrases such as mutually assured destruction. And of course, like anyone, my ideas about my country and government have shifted over time. As I grew, I personally grew more critical as I tried out different ideals and values for myself, seeking that which felt most true to me. But in the last decade or so, I have also grown more protective of and fearful for my country. I have grown more patriotic, wanting to call my country to account for its failings, wanting it to do more and deeper discernment about who it is and what it wants to be in the larger world. Because when we love someone or something, we also want the best for that person, being, or institution. We need to be able to name when people or institutions that we love are not living up to their stated ideals, because we want to restore them to what they could be. And we need people who love us to call us into account when we are failing to live up to our stated ideals and values. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. That is language from the new, revised Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association, UUA, adopted in June of this year after years of study and an initial vote in 2023, affirmed this year by a 2/3 majority vote at the annual General Assembly of the UUA. This love at the center of our shared values is behind the lovely flower graphic that you see on the cover of your order of service, as well as in our favorite mnemonic device, JetPig. The values we share with love at the center of the flower, the fuel in the jetpack of that sweet little pig, are justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. And this morning, I'd like to draw your attention specifically to the language of the justice value in Article 2 of our bylaws. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. For those of us who might have grown up within religious traditions that did not support the use of inclusive democratic processes, this feels radical. It feels aspirational, too, knowing that fully realized justice, fully realized beloved community is still very much a work in progress in our congregations, in our association, and in society at large. But that is the spiritual discipline of love, after all, and it is the spiritual call of the work of democracy. The work of democracy is voting, yes, and I encourage everyone listening to me now, or perhaps on a recording in the future, to do the work of careful consideration of each ballot you cast to ensure that it aligns with your values as best it can. But it is not just voting. It is so much more than voting. There is no such thing as the state, and no one exists alone. Hunger allows no choice to the citizen or the police. We must love one another or die. That's what this tattoo says, by the way. W.H. Auden wrote September 1st, 1939, shortly after hearing about Germany's invasion of Poland on that date, the beginning of the Second World War. It was first published in October of that same year. And Auden famously came to despise the poem, which is widely regarded as one of the greatest written in the 20th century. Because the truth of art is that once an artist has released their creation into the world, it cannot be called back. And the most powerful creations take up their own place no matter their creator's intent or desire. We must love one another or die. Auden struggled with this line particularly. After all, as mortal creatures, we will each die. But the creation remains despite its creator, and that reminds me there are many kinds of death. A life lived without loving one another is not the kind of life that I want, nor do I believe it's the kind of life that any human wants. Auden wanted to draw the world's attention to the fact that whatever state may be said to exist or act, whatever sense of individualism may be said to exist, the fact of the matter is that we need one another. When we are hungry, we all have the same need. We are bound up in relationships of care and concern, and those relationships were forever altered in so many ways by that invasion on September 1st, 1939. We need one another for food, for shelter, for safety. We need for our institutions to function for the good of as many as possible. For inclusive democratic processes remind us of the long work of tending that which we hope to grow. If we are so reliant, if we are so intertwined, and if we imagine ourselves so joined in a web without love as its center point and principal value, well, there are many kinds of death after all, and a life lived without love at the center is its own. But overnight, a vine you've never battled creeps out of the dark furrows, scales the long necks of the sunflowers, chokes every black-eyed Susan, and coils around the peonies, beheading them all. You snap apart its greedy tendrils, you cast your hands back into the dirt, you pull at its ruthless roots. Still, it returns with equal fury and claim. The red poppies scream, the blue asters gasp for air, strangled in its vile clasp that lives by killing everything it touches. The sun's eye closes behind the mountains, but you lose sleep tonight, uncertain if the garden is meant to inevitably survive or die, or if it matters one way or the other, with or without you. Maybe it's not just the garden you worry about, but something we call hope pitted against despair, something we can only speak of by speaking to ourselves about flowers, weeds, and hummingbirds, spiders, vines, and a garden tended under a constitution of stars we must believe in, splayed across our sky. And you may recognize this poet, Richard Blanco, as the inaugural poet for the second inauguration of President Barack Obama in January of 2013. This poem, which was our reading today, thank you again, Kay, for a beautiful rendition, is called Election Year, and it comes from a collection of poems called how to love a country. And if you are struggling with that dilemma yourself, I cannot recommend this volume of poetry enough. You could put many labels on the vines rampaging through this imagined garden, strangling the life out of red and blue flowers alike. Because the truth is that there are many threats to a thriving democracy. We see hatred, division, a lack of willingness to have hard conversations, a lack of willingness to work toward compromises that actually can get us closer to justice, get us closer to beloved community than standing firmly on a single idea and refusing to budge or consider a single change. Life is change. Growth is change. A living, flourishing democracy needs to shift and grow and discern towards what end do we work? What does the work of our democracy serve? If it is not love, if it is not justice, then what is it? Blanco imagines his garden struggling, changing, thriving under a broad constitution of stars. And Austin reminds us of other guiding points of light as well. Defenseless under the night, our world in stupor lies, yet dotted everywhere, ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them of eros and of dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame. We are all composed of the same things. The red poppies and the blue asters, those who are just, those who are seeking justice, imperfectly, and not letting imperfection daunt them or keep them from trying. They're showing their own affirming flames, like the affirming flame of our audacious faith that dares us to dream that democracy itself can be a love-centered affirmation of our values, can imagine and work to achieve a world where the most good is done for the most people. This, dear people, is the spiritual call of democracy. Whom do we serve? And how do we love them? Amen, and blessed be. We come now to the time where we invite you into generosity this week and every week, where we will pass our baskets and remind you that it is the spiritual work of love and the spiritual discipline of love that drives what we do here, and generosity also fuels that. So the ushers will now collect our offering. Your generosity is appreciated.
Heaven knows where we are going, but we know we're there, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be
Good morning, everybody. I'm Linda Wood, and it is my pleasure to represent the Caring Committee this morning. One of the things that we covenant to do with our congregation is to share your joys and concerns on a Sunday morning with everybody as a whole. At this time in the service, we share our personal joys and concerns, so please keep in mind that this is not the time or the forum to share political matters. We know that these can weigh heavy on our hearts or our minds, or can be a source of joy, but we want to hold this time sacred for our interpersonal relationships. So into this sacred space, we have a lot this morning. Our friend and member Beverly Telfer died on September 29th. Her full obituary is on the Simpson Funeral website if you would like to know more about her life and her family. And we hope to have information about a memorial service in the near future. Judy Nelson's mom, Ruth Nelson, passed away on October 13th at Crosslands in Kennett Square, PA. Ruth graduated from Smith College and was an educator, a librarian, and an adventurer. She raised 7 children and leaves a multitude of grand and great-grandchildren. Ruth was 95. On Monday, Peggy Cooper started receiving hospice care. So please hold her and her family in your hearts. John Binky has moved to Vermont to be with his daughter, Myra. He misses Roanoke, but he's in a very loving, caring situation with Myra and living in a beautiful area. He would love to get calls or cards from UUCR friends, and I'm going to write his contact information in the book. And last but not least, we would like to wish a happy and joyful 38th anniversary to Greta and Cindy. I have a feeling you sneaked that in, Greta. If you have anything that you would like to share with everybody as a whole, please do so by writing it in the Lifelines book or calling the church office or letting someone in the Caring Committee know. So if you have something privately on your heart that you would like to express today by lighting a candle, this is your opportunity to do so. Please use both sides of the altar. May our prayers be heard and our hearts be restored.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you all. I will light a candle this week, as I do every week, for those joining us online who are not here to light one in person, for what is on their hearts. We feel the warmth of fellowship even when you are not physically present with us. And so, dear ones, now at the end of this particular ritual, I'll invite you to a time of prayer and meditation and reflection. Make yourself comfortable in the way that is the most accessible for you. Close your eyes if that is comfortable. Soften your focus if it is not. Look at a beautiful stained glass window. We feel the swings of emotion. We swing from joy to sorrow to joy again, sometimes so fast we cannot imagine we were ever another way, and then we are. We feel the weight of the world and also its buoyancy. We hear of loss, of love. We know that all of our hearts hold these and so many other multiple truths. We can love a country through its complexity. We can rage and rail against one policy or one way of being in the world, and we can still struggle to find those things which we share, the soil which we grow from in common, the ground of our being. Let that ground sustain and support you through these coming weeks of challenge and of uncertainty, and for whatever comes next. Every day is a new opportunity. Every tomorrow is another next. We pray and we cultivate within our hearts the space to accept what comes, to consider it, and to react to it with love at the center of all we do. So may it be.
For those of you who did not have a plan for the rest of your day, I've got it laid out for you. I'm going to start at 12:30. Democracy Circle is going to meet in the Walls room upstairs, discussing the Department of Life as envisioned by the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. So you're welcome to join me up there for that. And I think, is Jeff here? No, he should be, but anyway. So that starts at 12:30. Then you'll have a little time for lunch. And then at, from 3 to 5, you're invited to the Roanoke Justice Ministries Prayer into Action to End Gun Violence Vigil and Harvest Fair at Williams Memorial Church. The Roanoke Justice Ministries seeks to bring different faith communities together to work for positive change in the Roanoke Valley. This event is co-sponsored by the Roanoke Sheriff's Department. Now, if you're real quick, you can make it over at 4 o'clock, in the middle of it, to the Congregation in Action's fundraiser concert benefiting the Pack-a-Snack program that we support in this church that helps feed students in 4 neighborhood elementary schools. Featuring Richard Rudolph's Steel Drum Band, it will be held at Raleigh Courts United Methodist Church on Grandin Road. You can purchase concessions and make extra donations to support the program. If that's not enough, there are more announcements in the weekly mail newsletter that you can look for. If you're not receiving the newsletter and would like to, please contact admin@uuroanoke.org. Now, for a longer perspective on our future, I invite Matt to come up and talk about our giving campaign.
Good morning. I have a brief update from the Stewardship Committee that I'd like to share. Lift it up. Yes. The most recent total of the annual generosity campaign that we kicked off in the spring was $258,502 pledged. That is a record haul and a 1.3% increase over the previous year. We can clap for that, sure. If you remember, at the same time, our boiler went out, and on top of that, we did another $50,000 campaign to replace the boiler. So that was a really great effort from the congregation. The board asked, and the congregation replied yes through that process. Going back to the pledge total of $258,000, it was a little short, actually, of the goal that we wanted to have, so that we have a balanced budget to work with. We were about $15,000 short of that. So we wanted to come back and do a short campaign here in the fall. Part of that reason is that we had about 8 fewer pledges this year than we did last year. We had 102 this year versus 110 the previous year. So if you've not pledged, if you missed it in the spring, or if you're new to the community, there's still time. You can go to the website, or you can talk with me after the service. I can help you with figuring out how to pledge. If you want to increase your pledge, there's also still time. The stock market has been on a roll. So I want to remind you that if you're 70 and a half years old or older, you can transfer funds directly from an IRA to UUCR without having to take a distribution and pay tax on that. A lot of people don't know that. But if you want to take advantage of that, you can talk to me or Sheila, maybe as an expert on that. We can help you figure that out. And then if you're wondering what this whole pledging business is about and you're putting money in the plate on a regular basis, we're grateful for that. But the pledge annually is about, or the plate is annually about $10,000, well short of what we're looking for in the pledge total, so you can consider that. Yesterday, just to conclude, we had a board retreat, and we talked about all the good work that the church has done over the past year. We talked about how the worship associates stepped up, about how Rev Kirk came in for an amazing curtain call, how we said goodbye to Rev Walter, how we welcomed Rev Jen, how the search committee popped up, all this great activity that happened, how we had a hurricane support center when the power went out. People in the neighborhood could come out. We were out in the community. So all this good work is great, but it does take money. And this pledge, extending this campaign, is an opportunity to secure that good work that we're able to plan on for the year ahead, but also be ready for some of the work that hasn't been revealed to us yet, but lies ahead in spite of us not knowing it. So if there's any further questions, come talk to me about pledging. Thank you.
Unless I've thrown everything into disarray, but I heard about this today. Okay. We made this. I know you made this video. I want us to see it. So, okay. I'm throwing a monkey wrench in. Yay!
It's coming around the bend. And I ain't had a good time since I don't know when. I'm stuck at home and working, and time keeps dragging on. But that church just keeps a whacking way down on Brandon Road. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always have a good time, go have some fun. That church just keeps on rolling, the bills won't let it be. When I hear the auction coming, my bitch will set it free.
Well, I'm very glad we had that pause. That was fantastic. Thank you. That was delightful. Thank you, everyone who was a part of making that. And now we have lit the flame of our audacious faith. We have shown our affirming flame in a world that sometimes feels dark or strange, or where we are alone. We know there are others out there working in that same light. If Kay would now extinguish our chalice, as so many UU congregations, churches, fellowships are around the country and the world.
Be the change you want to see in the world, and change will come to you. Be the voice you want to hear in the world. Be the voice you want to hear in the world. Be the voice you want to hear in the world, and change will come to you. Be the light you want to shine in the world. Be the light you want to shine in the world. Be the light you want to shine in the world, and change will come to you. And change will come to you.
Be the light you want to see in the world, and change will come. Go out, take the light of the flame of our faith in your hearts, and go keep love at the center in all you do in the week and weeks and all the times to come. Go in peace. Oh, I'm dying.